Before Freud, before Jung, and long before modern psychology gave us terms like ego and unconscious, ancient civilizations were already exploring the vast, mysterious landscape of the human mind. They weren't using textbooks or clinical studies. They were using myths, symbols, and gods. In the heart of ancient Egypt, one deity stood out as the ultimate keeper of wisdom, balance, and the very secrets of consciousness. Thoth, the ibis-headed god. So let's ask a provocative question. Could Thoth, this ancient figure, be considered the world's very first psychologist? Let's journey back thousands of years and uncover the psychological wisdom hidden in the sands of time. So, who exactly was Thoth? Known to the Egyptians as Jehuti, he was far more than just another god in their crowded pantheon. He was one of the most revered and essential deities. You'll often see him depicted with the head of an ibis, a bird known for its meticulous way of probing the earth for food, symbolizing his deep, careful search for knowledge. At other times, he's shown as a baboon, an animal the Egyptians observed chattering at the dawn, as if greeting the sun with wisdom. Thoth was the master of writing, the inventor of hieroglyphs, the measurer of time, and the divine arbiter of the cosmos. He wasn't just a scribe writing things down. He was the one who recorded the fundamental truth of existence itself. His most famous role took place in the Hall of Two Truths during the critical weighing of the heart ceremony. This was the ultimate judgment for every soul entering the afterlife. The deceased's heart was placed on a scale, weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and cosmic order. And who was there, diligently recording the result? Thoth. He meticulously documented whether a soul was pure and light enough to proceed to the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise. In this profound moment, Thoth wasn't just a judge of a person's actions. He was the official recorder of their inner life, their conscience, their very psyche. He was the one who saw the complete record of a person's inner world, making him a gatekeeper not just to the afterlife, but to the deepest truths of the human soul. Now, why would we go so far as to call Thoth a psychologist? It's because his core domains perfectly mirror the fundamental principles of modern psychology and the inner workings of our own minds. Let's start with the concept of Ma'at, or balance. Thoth was a key figure in maintaining this cosmic harmony. Psychology at its core is also about achieving balance, balancing our emotions with our logic, our inner needs with outer demands, and our conscious desires with our unconscious drives. When we feel anxious or conflicted, we are, in a sense, experiencing a personal imbalance. Thoth's role was to restore that equilibrium on a cosmic scale, just as therapy aims to restore it within us. Next, consider his connection to writing and symbols. Thoth was the divine scribe, the lord of hieroglyphs. Writing isn't just about recording history, it's a profound psychological tool. It's how we organize our thoughts, express our deepest feelings, and preserve our memories. Think about journaling, dream analysis, or even just talking through a problem. These are all acts of turning chaotic inner experiences into coherent symbols and narratives. Thoth, as the master of language, governed this very process of making the internal external, of giving form to the formless. Hieroglyphs themselves were not just letters, they were potent symbols, each carrying layers of meaning, much like the symbols we find in our dreams, which modern psychology sees as messages from the unconscious. And then there's his association with the moon. Unlike the sun god Ra, who represents the bright, clear, and obvious light of the conscious mind, Thoth was linked to the moon. The moon governs the night, the tides, and the cycles of nature. It waxes and wanes, revealing itself in phases. This beautifully represents the hidden, reflective, and cyclical aspects of our own psyche, our intuition, our dreams, our moods, and the parts of ourselves that aren't always in the spotlight of our conscious awareness. The moonlit world is the territory of the unconscious, a realm of mystery and shadow. Thoth, as a lunar deity, bridges the gap. He embodies both rational, meticulous thought, the scribe, and deep intuitive insight, the Lord of the Moon. In this way, he represents the integration of the two great pillars of human consciousness, a goal central to many psychological practices today. The parallels become even more striking when we look at the work of Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of depth psychology. Jung introduced the world to concepts like archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the integration of the shadow self. If Jung had studied the Egyptian pantheon, he would have seen Thoth as a perfect embodiment of these ideas. Thoth is the quintessential mediator. He stands between gods, between order and chaos, and most importantly, between the conscious and unconscious realms. He is the guide who can navigate the darkness and bring back wisdom. Jung's entire philosophy centered on the idea that true psychological wholeness comes from acknowledging and integrating all parts of ourselves, both the light and the dark, the shadow. The ancient Egyptians understood this through myth. Thoth was the one who helped Horus defeat Set, bringing order out of chaos, but he also recognized the necessity of both forces. He guides the soul through the underworld, a symbolic journey into the unconscious to face its own truths. This process of confronting one's inner darkness to achieve a higher state of consciousness is precisely what Jung called individuation. Thoth, in his divine form, was the archetypal therapist, the guide for this sacred inner journey towards self-realization thousands of years before it had a clinical name. So, why does this ancient ibis-headed god still matter to us in the 21st century? Because the ideas he represents are timeless. Thoth is the embodiment of an archetype that Jung would later call the wise old man or the sage. This is a figure that appears in myths, stories, and religions all over the world. Think of Merlin, Gandalf, or Yoda. It's the part of our collective human story that represents the quest for knowledge, truth, and inner guidance. Every time we pick up a book to learn something new, every time we sit in quiet reflection to understand ourselves better, every time we try to balance our emotions, we are in a way channeling the spirit of Thoth. He represents the fundamental human drive to not just exist, but to understand our existence. He reminds us that the journey inward is as important as any journey outward. The tools may have changed. We now have therapy, neuroscience, and psychological studies instead of papyrus scrolls and divine rituals. But the fundamental quest remains the same. The quest to understand the complexities of our own minds, to find balance in our lives, and to seek wisdom is a path that Thoth walked first. So, to return to our original question, was Thoth the first psychologist? In a symbolic and archetypal sense, the answer is a resounding yes. Long before psychology was codified as a science, the ancient Egyptians personified its core principles in this remarkable deity. Thoth was the divine representation of the timeless human quest to know ourselves, to find meaning in our inner world, and to live a balanced, conscious life. Perhaps that's why one of his most powerful titles was the Lord of Wisdom. He reminds us that the search for that wisdom is one of the oldest and most noble human endeavors. Thank you so much for joining this journey back in time. If you found this exploration of the mind and myth fascinating, please give this video a like and subscribe for more deep dives into history and psychology. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Thoth the world's first psychologist? See you next time.